Hi there, it's Mark here. In this short video I want to show you how you can use some of the functionality in PowerPoint to create some interesting slides to accompany a Camtasia style video. So what I've done is I've created some standard slides that I can use in my own presentations, my own YouTube channel videos on the pricing for accountants. So I'll talk you through how I've created the slides, show you some of the functionality, and it will be good idea if other members of the AVN team could create similar slides for other YouTube channels, for example some Tax Club ones. So let me first of all start by showing you the standard slides. So if I hit the F5 button to play the PowerPoint presentation, so the first slide automatically introduces me with a little bit of a few graphics. There's then on the click of a mouse it pulls in a introduction to the video itself. I've then got a standard slide where I can mention my free book, where I will, in the video, I will tell them that when they get to the end of the video, I'll tell them how they get their free copy of this book. So we should have a standard slide to accompany the golden carrot if there is one. Then I've got a standard slide which you can see the please click here is flashing. That's a standard slide for getting the viewer to subscribe. I've got a standard one telling about the other YouTube channels we've got. I've got a bit of animation with the arrow that you saw there. Then another standard slide asking them to put comments in. Next slide is asking them to like the video, and you can see that I've got the arrow moving at the bottom. The next slide then is telling them that they can share the videos. There's a bit of animation telling them how to share the videos, where the button is on YouTube. There's then a standard slide if there's a series of videos on how to click through to the next video, and in YouTube we can create a hyperlink for the box that takes them to the next video in the series. Similarly, we can have a standard slide that takes them to the previous video in the series. And then you've got the golden carrot itself, and where you can tell them how to get the free book or the free DVD. And then there may be a hyperlink with a click through to a sales video perhaps. So let me show you how I've created some of those slides. So let's go to the first one. You'll see that what we've done in PowerPoint, I've pulled the various elements together. So that arrow simply came from a Google search. If you go to Google, if we type in say arrow and search on images, you'll see somewhere in this list is the arrow I liked here. So I just copy and paste that arrow into the PowerPoint presentation. We can then, once you've copied it in, using this green button here, we can use this to move the arrow to a different orientation. So I simply swiveled that a little bit, and although generally I prefer to have the Calibri font throughout, sometimes when you want amusing little comments I quite like having a different font here. The picture itself, if you go into the format functions, I think when you put pictures in the videos, these picture styles make them look much more professional. Just bear in mind that some of them blur the picture slightly, so some of them might not be appropriate. So just play around with a few different ones, but I like for things like books and things, I quite like having it looking like a 3D image. For other things you'll see later, I quite like the borders. So use the formatting tools to make the pictures look a little bit more interesting than the plain box down photo plonked on the slide. Then what we've got is the animations, and you'll see that the zeros and the ones are the order they play. And over here you've got custom animation. If this isn't showing, then simply go to animations, click on custom animation, and this will appear here. This is the main thing you'll use for creating all the animations. So I've got them listed here. The first three all happen at the same time: the arrow, the "That's me" text, and the picture. And if you see if I play the play button here, you'll see what it does. It does all those three, and then it brings in afterwards. It brings in the bar at the bottom, the banner. So to create an effect, we just simply choose the effect from the drop-down list, and you can, usually it's some sort of entrance you'll want. Here's some of the standard ones, but you also might want, if you click on the more, you'll find sometimes perhaps some of the less subtle ones might be appropriate. Some of them get too fancy. Having things flying all over the place can sometimes be over the top. So don't go too mad on this. Another one that's good is motion paths, where you can then determine exactly where something moves, and I'll show you that later. And an emphasis can be quite good if you want things to grow, shrink, or shimmer. So you select the effect, and then for each one we can then choose a number of things. So for example, think about the start. Sometimes they'll be on a mouse click. That means it won't happen until you click on the mouse. Sometimes they'll happen either at the same time as the previous effect in the sequence, or afterwards. So this one I've done afterwards. In other words, once the slideshow starts, it pulls up my name, and then as soon as my name's appeared afterwards, it then does the animation for that. If we then click on this one, after that one it does the second picture, and then thirdly after that it does "That's me." In other words, that all happens automatically without me having to click the mouse when I then record the Camtasia. Whereas the text box, I've chosen that to be on click. So what that means is when I start my presentation and start saying, "Hi, my name is Mark Wickersham, welcome to this video," all those first bits of animation will just happen automatically. I don't have to worry about those. But the next one, where I then say, "In this short video I'll reveal," I'll want that animation to take place when I'm ready, when I'm saying that. So what I will do is I will manually click the button to have this banner appear, and on my script I put a little symbol. I use a C for click. I put a little C at the start of the sentence where I start to say, "In this short video I'll reveal." So when I record the Camtasia, I know that when I start it, I can do my introduction. The first bits of animations will happen automatically because they've been set after previous, and then when I'm at the appropriate place, I'll have a little prompt in my script to remind me to click the mouse button to make this last one, which is on click, appear. So this appears and you can then set, in this one it comes in from the right. So if we click play, you'll see here it comes in from the right, because I've got it set up here from the right. And you can also change the speed if you want to happen faster or slower. You can change that. So they're the main buttons there for choosing how they start, whether it's at the same time as the previous thing, afterwards, or on the mouse click. So have a think that through. What's going to be easiest when you're doing the video itself. And then you've got some other settings here. You've also got some other settings when you click on a particular effect. You can also change all sorts of things like the timing to be much more detailed. So there's some things you might want to last longer, or for faster duration, quicker, whatever. So have a little play with those and have a look at what else you can manipulate. So that's how I did the first slide. The second slide, what this one does is when I click onto this slide, the first thing that will happen is the title will appear automatically, and then on a mouse click it'll pull up at the same time both the text and the picture of the book. So I've just cut and pasted an image of one of our product shots, and I've chosen to have this as a zooming or expanding, and I've chosen the speed to be fast. So this is what it looks like when I click the mouse. The animation happens. The third one, how have I created this slide? I've done all this happens at the same time, so they're all, because they've all got a 0 next to them, they all start at the same time. In other words, all these animations start after the previous. So as soon as I click on the slide, then these things will all happen automatically, just like that. So the first thing that happens is it pulls in the oval, and then a curve, then the screenshot, and then it starts doing, and the fourth one is the flashbulb effect that makes this flash. If you want to change the order of animations, all we need to do is shift them. So for example, you might decide that in this one you want the please click here to flash prior to the arrows appearing. And perhaps just straight after the oval. So all we need to do is just move it. If we drag this to here, it will now pull up the oval first on the screen, then this will start flashing, then it'll pull up the arrow and the picture. So let me just play the play button. Now clearly that doesn't make as much sense, it's not the right order, but that's how you can shift the order about, just by dragging them and changing the order. So the next, and where did I get this arrow from? Well, that particular arrow came just simply by going to the insert menu, inserting shapes, and picking an arrow, a curved arrow connector, and then you can play around using for example, the diamond here to shift that arrow about. When you've also inserted an arrow, when you right click and click on format shape, that enables you to change things like the color of the color, the thickness of the line, for example, and the style of the arrow, things like that. So we can play with the animations. Had I have had more time, I'd like to have had a more flashy arrow, perhaps as a stock image. But if you pull in, let me just go back to this arrow. If you pull in an arrow like that, then unless you find one where the background's transparent, most of them will have say a white background. That means when we move this to say there, the white background is covering up the image. If I'd had a bit more time, I could have gone into Photoshop, taken out the white background to make it transparent, so we could then use that arrow. But I haven't yet done that. But it might be a project worthwhile doing, creating a nice arrow or series of arrows without a background that we could use, that will superimpose like we've done here over the top of an image. So that's a project for another day, perhaps. On this particular slide, I've taken what I've done for this bit here is I've grabbed a screenshot of one of the YouTube channels and just cropped it. The crop tool, if you haven't seen it, is when you pull in a picture, we can click on the crop tool and we can change we can crop it if we want. And then I also pulled in one of the, just to make it look smarter, pulled in one of the borders. That's all I've done there. If I just hit the play button, all this one does, it has we can see what we've done here is the arrow spins. So if we look at picture 2, what I've got here is grow and turn is the effect that I've used, which is this effect number 9 here. Grow and turn is what happens with that particular arrow. On this particular screen, what I wanted to do here, this is to accompany a standard script where I asked them to put a comment to a video, and what I wanted to do here was have an arrow pointing to the comment box and having some motion. So let me just show you what this looks like. We can see the text and the arrow come in, and so what did we do? What I do there, in that particular case, it was a movement flying in, and I chose it to come in flying in from the left, and I applied that to both the arrow, which is the arrow, and the text as well. Now in that particular effect, I've got the text coming in after the previous. If I change that to with previous and we play it, the text and the arrow come at the same time, but they slightly overlap. I'm not sure, that was a little bit messy. I think there's some personal taste there. I just happen to think after previous just works slightly better. So that's how we did that slide. On this particular slide, on this one, you'll see that we've got a like button. We want them to like it, and I've created some movement with the button at the bottom. If we click on play, you'll see that the arrow starts going up and down. As I'm talking through my script, it's prompting them to click on that like button. How did I do that? Well, that one was done, if we just click on it, that was done using a motion path. So we've selected from Add Effects motion path, and I want it to be down. And when you select motion path, what it does is it gives you on the screen 2 little arrows. The green arrow tells you where the center of the image is, that's where it starts, and the red arrow is where it's going to move to. So it's going to move down, and actually in this case it's going to move off the screen. So that's how you set a motion path. And then having set the motion path, what I then did, you'll see there's 5 boxes here. That's because from the drop down menu, when you go into, I think it's timing, it might have been under repeat, repeat 5 times. You can see it's doing it now, it's previewing it. So that's how I got it to do that constantly, by setting the timing on repeat. On this next slide, what I've done here is I've chosen to pull in 2 arrows, and this, what I wanted this one to do is, while I read my script, all these animations to happen automatically. Again, the fact they've all got a 0 on here, and they're all appeared in the same list rather than 1, 2, 3 and 4, that's because they're all set as after previous. In other words, none of these have a mouse click, so this whole animation, this whole slide will happen. As soon as I go to the slide, I can read my script knowing that all these animations will appear on the screen. What I then chose to do with the animations is I wanted the first arrow to point to the share button first while I'm talking, and then pause a little bit, and then the second arrow then tell them how they then click on the link as I'm going through the script. And to do that, what I did is, for the down arrow and the text, they both just appeared. I didn't have anything fancy happening, they just appeared on the screen. And then what I want is, I want the first one, the first arrow and the text, to then disappear. So I used the red one, the red icons here is because I'd selected exit. So these happened first, then they exited after previous, and the first arrow and text box appeared. And then if we just go into the drop down box for the effects, you'll see that under timing I set it here to have a delay of 2 seconds. In other words, what happened was the first arrow pointing to the share button, here's the share button, appeared on the screen. There was a delay of 2 seconds. At the end of 2 seconds, then both the text and the arrow both disappear, and then straight after the previous, the next arrow and the text appears. So that means that I've put in a 2-second delay so I can control how long that lasts. But again, it all happens automatically, so I can read my screen, I can read my script while I know that the animations are all just happening. There's the 2-second delay, and there's the next arrow. This next screen, nothing really fancy here. It's just there's no animations at all. I've just simply pulled in some images of other videos. I'll create a hyperlink in YouTube, so this will hyperlink through to the next video in the series. Perhaps an interesting thing we could do, just to make this more impressive, we could perhaps have, rather than this background image which was from YouTube, we could have perhaps 3 or 4 separate little video clips like that, and perhaps using motion paths we could get them all scrolling across the screen, for example. So there's things we could do and play around and make that screen even more impressive. On the standard slide I've got for then talking about the golden carrot, how they get their freebie, all I've really done here is created a little effect. If I play it, you'll see that it shimmers, and all that is simply an effect that's called shimmer from the list of emphasis. And that's it. So there's a quick tour of how to create some animations within PowerPoint.